Well, it is rock and roll time for Oasis here on August the 14th. This mic is up real loud, so you'll hear me in full voice. And John Rand just heard that and turned it way down. And now I'm talking. There is good news to report tonight. A new Wednesday night Disciple Bible Fast Track study will start September the 4th. Each Wednesday following this service. SJA has a great history of offering disciple Bible studies, so don't miss this wonderful opportunity to grow in your faith. Sandy Athey will be our leader this season, and information and sign-up table will be in the hallway this Sunday. Don't wait to sign up. The class is going to be limited to the first 15 people who sign up. There is also going to be another class that is going to be offered this fall, and we'll be ready to tell you about that in further Oasis services. For the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a Cokesbury book fair. Small groups, Sunday school classes, and anyone else interested can browse through a lot of different materials to see if any of those fit into your plans for whatever class or group you're involved with. This is an opportunity to see many of the available options for your next step in your faith journey through study. It might even be something good for an individual. We're looking forward to Sunday night. We have a huge RSVP response list. It's very exciting. I haven't been through it to make sure each of you are going to be here, but if you've not RSVP'd, tonight is the last night, and you can do that with a little reservation slip and just place it in the basket next to the offering box. We're going to learn about an exciting day of mission coming up in September. We're going to learn a lot of neat things as we celebrate life in the church. At 6 o'clock, the line's actually going to open a little before that. You're the first ones to get to hear that. So if you want to be here at 5:45 or so, you can, and get in the line and get the grub and get you a good seat and be ready for a great night. So welcome tonight. Chris, are you helping with music tonight? Well, I rejoice in that. Thank you. They're going to know we're Christians by our love. Sunday when the crowd's bigger. You're really good. Well, I wouldn't say loud. You're just a blessing. You may be seated as we have our prayer time tonight. Did anyone miss rain today? Did everybody get some rain? Barely? We had a quarter of an inch up where I live, over here by Stovall Park. And then it kind of quit and the sun came out. But about 11 o'clock, we got a big downpour. And it began to run and cascade the way it does, down the pavement from the hill. And the trustees had just done a trenching project in the back because the neighbors were getting flooded. And they've been griping for years about it. And Dub Summers of our church got out with his own equipment and dug that trench out, and I watched it. It was running beautifully, and I called him and thanked him and told him how well it was. But they didn't get this big downpour if you went about 5 blocks west, and the airport to the east only got 3 100ths all day. But you didn't come to hear a weather report tonight, so let's pray. Loving God, I give you thanks for all of the blessings, some of which we take so for granted. I give you thanks for rain on an August Wednesday. Even if it breaks the heat for a day and greens the ground, I give you thanks as the example of your refreshment that finds us in all seasons, even when we find ourselves parched. I thank you for a man like Steve Perlman who will come and work and volunteer to work our AV equipment for an Oasis service on Wednesday night. And for a Chris Crabtree who brings not only her voice but her smile and spirit to lead us in song. I thank you for a John Moran who too often is my foil, but what a good sport he is. And what a great saint and disciple he is in ministry, with his character, his integrity, his intellect, and all of the remarkable talent that he brings. And I thank you for the exemplary role he plays that is just an example of what goes on in this church all the time, every day, with so many great people who bring their zone of weakness and their zone of giftedness, and together we become the body that is St. John the Apostle. So may we be thankful. Prepare us for this thrilling Sunday coming up with music and song and dance, for a great celebration Sunday night as we celebrate who you are, where you've been, and where you will lead us. And bless the message that is offered tonight by one of these great saints, Lynn Stokes. And may this Oasis experience be contagious and spread to others, so that others might benefit just as we have so much. Bless those who are sick, those who are recovering, those who are navigating through the loss of loved ones in death, those facing questions and uncertainty. Bless our nation and its tribalistic divisions, and help us find not a mushy middle, but a strong center that unites us behind the lead of Jesus Christ. This my prayer I offer in the name of Jesus. Amen. When you experience great faith, the Bible tells us that we're not to hide it under a bushel. We're not to be a lamp that is hidden, but rather be the light of the world, the salt and the light. A great song that describes that is Pass It On. So won't you stand as Chris and John lead us in passing on this good news. Was a great music director, and when we do pass it on, when we get to the end, he would just keep repeating, both vocally and on the keyboard, pass it on, boom, boom, pass it on, boom, boom, pass. And he would ask everybody to go around the room and extend a hand or a hug as we just pass it on. So, Chris, where'd you go? Next time, we might work on the Oris Baldwin routine, and we'll even embrace your husband in so doing, okay? I'm so thrilled that Lynn Stokes has accepted our invitation to come and be an Oasis speaker tonight. You can say a lot of things about Lynn. She's smart, she's personable, she's a lot of fun, she's Judy Shoemaker's sister, but the greatest quality about Lynn to me is she is real. You know the Lynn Stokes that the Lord has intended Lynn Stokes to be. There's no pretense about it. She's not trying to impress you by being someone she's not. She's real. She's a lover of life, and she's great to have fun with. She's very committed in her discipleship. She's a great member of our church. She served in a variety of areas. Her ministry has been shared with a smaller United Methodist church up the road. John Rand says, I'll drink to this, and he's got his drink back there. She's been a leader here, and she's such a good sport. I don't know what it is about Lynn that invites me to give her a hard time. I don't know if any of you experienced that urge, but as recently as last night, Andy Go joined me in ganging up on her in announcing to the mission and outreach team that she's going to take the pumpkin patch back over this year. And I'll let Lynn describe her response if she chooses. The only real weakness that I see in Lynn is she's friends with Doug Crabtree, but we'll save that for another time. Would you welcome our Oasis speaker for tonight, the one, the only, and our very own, Lynn Stokes.
Thanks, Mark. But the next time you come up to me with that cute little, TV star smile and say, hello, Mrs. Stokes, I have this great opportunity for you, I'm running the other direction. Just want you to know that. I'm warning you ahead of time. And you can figure out what my answer to pumpkin patch was, can't you? Thought I'd start out with a little background. I was born and raised Methodist church, since infancy on. What did somebody say that? A cradle Methodist. So did all those kid things, VBS, youth group, even, confirmation, got married in the Methodist church, and then after kind of went a little inactive as a young adult, how that happens. And then the kids came along, and it was time to get back involved and get, and so we had friends here at St. John's, and so the kids wanted to come, and so here we are, and we've been here since about early mid-90s, I guess. Been rolling along. So when Mark asked me to do this, I was kind of thinking about what I would talk about in my prep work, and it required a little self-reflection, and I got to thinking about what other people talked about, and they talked about their talents, their musical abilities. Well, I really don't have any of that. I can play bells because it's got a lot of numbers and counting, and I am a math person, and so most of the time I can remember which is my left hand and which is my right hand, so that helps. And I don't really have any great burning passion. Not much of a Bible scholar. That's what I tell my small group people all the time, but they still kind of expect me to be in charge. So sometimes we just muddle through and try to figure out what we're supposed to know in our lessons. So not a great speaker. I would be much more eloquent, I'm sure, and have great written, and have it memorized. I wouldn't be up here reading from my cryptic notes. So anyway, I was just, kind of listening, figuring out what other people had talked about, and one of my friends said to me, what do you do at St. John's? I think she implied because I was up here all the time, and so that kind of got me thinking off on that track about the activities I was involved with and the things I was doing, and I finally decided that my talent is just being a helper, that I'm blessed, I have, the physical abilities, I have the time, I have the finances, that I can just be a helper. And some of the things that I do, I'm a greeter, an usher, offering counter. I've worked VBS, I've done mission trip, Habitat, small group, mission, outreach team. I think the garden club, if you need something planted or go out there and play in the dirt, I'm on that committee too. I don't know that that's an official committee yet. So There was that time that I offered to help Becky Ward with the pumpkin patch because she said she was going to do it, and I thought she probably needs a little help, and we all know how that turned out. So there was that crazy idea also about using the pumpkin patch in December, and I have my crazy friend who did not talk me out of it. She thought it was a great crazy idea, so now, we have that living nativity every December. So sometimes those helper plans can kind of take over, but John Wesley, the founder, of our denomination, I want to read what we did a study, and this is what some of the info from him, and this is what he said, that Christianity is essentially a social religion. The gospel of Christ knows no religion but social, no holiness but social holiness. The Christian walk is more than just me and Jesus. It includes all those other folks whom Jesus loves and for whom Jesus died. And today, the United Methodist Church has social principles in the Book of Discipline. Doug can tell you where that is. I'm not reading the Book of Discipline. So, Jesus was asked, which is the greatest commandment? And in Mark 12:30-31, he replies, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment, and the second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. And when God says your neighbor, he doesn't mean that person that literally lives next door to you that looks just like you. But I take it to believe that he means all human beings. So you have to take that into consideration too. And I'm not an only on Sunday morning Christian. I can't worship on Sunday and then not do anything the rest of the week, that Monday through Saturday. So I try to live my faith. I think it's an action verb. And in James 2:17, it says, thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. And James 2:26 is similar to that. It says, for as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. And if you want to read the whole passage, it's James 2:14-26. So I feel like that as a Christian, to live out my faith, that I need to be the hands and feet of God, to love my neighbor, all my fellow human beings, and sometimes that's hard to do, especially when I'm driving up and down Cooper Street, and some of those people out there need to stay off the road when I'm trying to drive because I really don't like them a lot. So being a helper, to me, it's not complicated. It doesn't require a real high skill level. You get to do lots of different things. I think as I get older, my ADD-ness gets a little worse, and there's lots of things I want to do instead of just one thing. So, and like I said, doesn't take a high skill level. Greeter, you say hello to somebody. Say hello to somebody in the grocery store. Smile at somebody. Buy coffee for the car behind you at Starbucks or the McDonald's drive-thru, whatever drive-thru line you happen to be in. Pay it forward a little bit. I try to let some of those cars in ahead of me on traffic on Cooper Street. Try to be a nice person. You can volunteer. You can pray for your neighbors, the neighbors you know and the neighbors that you don't know. You can donate. I donate to charities. You can donate. I haven't done this once in a while. The person on the corner that you always wonder, should I give them? What are they going to do with that money? Be brave. Donate something. Give to that person. I was taking the food to the food bank. We do the baskets out there. You see people put food in there. Somebody has to take it from the storeroom to the food bank. So I was doing that the other day. And the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ, they used to be the Mormons. Now they've dropped that for some reason. They were there helping. The sisters and the brothers were helping unload. And the guy came out, and I told him who I was and what I was bringing. And he said, how Christ-like of you. And I thought, I really hadn't thought it that way. I was just loading my car and dropping that stuff off at the center. So I was just being a helper. So, and there's a quote by Mr. Rogers. Oh, cue to the VA team. And some of you may have heard this, read it before. It says, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I'm always comforted by realizing that there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in this world. And today's society is virtually, I think, in a constant crisis. near disaster if it's not an actual real disaster. And we as Christians, we have to be those helpers. We have to be the ones that are there to help the others. So, El Paso, the event we just had recently, there was an 11-year-old who was trying to deal with all of that. I saw this on the news, and he's trying to cope with this. This is, I'm sure the Walmart where he goes all the time, and how does he deal with this? And he came up with this challenge to his fellow El Pasoans to do 22 good deeds to honor those that were killed. And, of course, and he said something like, you could mow yards, visit a nursing home, hug somebody, just do something nice, do a good deed, do a kind thing, be a helper. And, of course, in our society, it's gone viral. I heard it's gone as far, Europe and around the world. But this is something that I feel like that I need to do and that we should all do as Christians, that we should be helpers. We should do the good things. We're called to love God and our neighbors. And my challenge to you is to be the hands and feet of God, to be helpers, and to be Christ-like. Remember those wristbands, illustration ones we used to have that said WWJD? You remember? What would Jesus do? Well, think about it. If you're in a situation, what would Jesus do? And that's what you should do, what we should all do. So, and I have one more close. Oh, here it is. It's good AV people back there. Closing thought, and I got this from a friend who on Facebook who got it from a friend. You know how Facebook works. So, but I think this is very, very appropriate. Remember, whenever you're in a position to help someone, be glad and always do it, because that's God answering someone else's prayers through you. Thank you.
Lynn, you're a blessing, and I thank you, and you should be treated better than you are. And I'm going to remember that and work on it. John Wesley of our United Methodist Faith Expression and Mother Teresa, who was a saint for the world, lived well apart. Mother Teresa's life ended here just not too many years ago, and John Wesley's been gone a long time. But I want to combine, based on Lynn's inspiration tonight, the words from both of them. And I won't get either just right. These are facsimiles. But Wesley used to say something to the effect of, do all the good that you can to all the people that you can, in all the places that you can, in all the ways that you can, and then it closed in some other way. And Mother Teresa had a similar saying that said, yes, and if when you've done everything you can and you really have to, then you can even use words. And I think that's well put and a good thought for our benediction tonight. Go in God's peace, and thank you for being here.